Thank you, Astis. Dear seminar participants, it's a great pleasure for me to be speaking to you here today as chair of the Standing Committee of the EFTA states. This is the chair rotates between Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway every 6 months, and Iceland is, as was said earlier, currently in the chair of the Standing Committee during the first half of 2024, also carrying the responsibility of celebrating the 30th anniversary. Now, the Standing Committee is the forum where the EEA EFTA states arrive at a common position before meeting with the EU in the EEA Joint Committee to incorporate new EU legislation into the EEA agreement. It consists of the ambassadors of the 3 EEA EFTA states to the EU, in addition to observers from Switzerland and the EFTA Surveillance Authority. I'm very pleased to see so many people participating here today, both in the room and I understand online, taking an interest in the EEA at this significant milestone. As highlighted now by my foreign minister, we often take the EEA agreement for granted, as it is so ingrained in our day-to-day lives nowadays. A priority of the Icelandic chair is, in fact, to strengthen knowledge of the EEA agreement, for example, with outreach events. And I think this seminar is indeed a perfect example of how we achieve this. We have also placed on our priority list for the first half of this year to continue our efforts to deliver a meaningful number of joint committee decisions on a steady basis to the EU side. And a particular focus will be placed on the 3 areas that we have identified and where the so-called backlog is the highest currently, namely in the areas of energy, financial services, and statistics. The EEA EFTA states are also actively discussing the implication on the EEA of new EU initiatives that concern, for example, economic security and industrial policy. Decision shaping is, of course, a continuous priority, and it is important to activate all EEA EFTA actors in order to get our views across to the EU. The obvious highlight of our priorities this year is to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the EEA, as I mentioned, and to underline the strength of the partnership between the EEA EFTA states and the EU. The EEA agreement is the main foundation of the relations between Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, and the EU, and it's safe to say that over the last 30 years it has been a success. After 30 years, it is still the most comprehensive agreement the EU has entered into with any non-EU members. Are you counting then the EEA Plus concluded by Andorra and San Marino recently? Subject of discussion, I suppose. Ensuring legal homogeneity in the internal market is a continuous exercise. It ensures that our citizens and businesses can reap the benefits of our common market. We therefore work closely with the European Commission on a daily basis to facilitate the timely incorporation of EU legal acts into the EEA agreement. We have in the last 30 years incorporated over 13,000 acts, of which almost 8,000 are currently in force. However, our partnership with the EU goes far beyond taking part in the internal market and the EEA. Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway also cooperate closely with the EU in areas such as justice and the Schengen cooperation, as well as foreign policy. Indeed, in these difficult times with Russia's brutal war in Ukraine and rising geopolitical tensions, we continue to stand together in unity with the EU. And to give you an example, the EEA EFTA states have indeed taken part in the sanctions that have been imposed on Russia, and we are also providing military equipment, humanitarian aid, and budgetary assistance to Ukraine. This common response is based on our shared commitment to international law, to democracy, freedom, and human rights. In other words, our cooperation with the EU safeguards our fundamental values and interests. The EEA agreement enables the close and reliable partnership needed to address our common challenges and crises. In the past years, the EEA EFTA states have worked closely with the EU to accelerate the twin, green, and digital transition, and we continue to adopt several key files in these important policy areas. More recently, enhancing Europe's competitiveness in a rapidly changing world has become an urgent priority for the EU, and here again, We support the EU's objectives as partners. EEA EFTA states have, for example, extensive experience in areas that are key to transforming our societies and economies, including in carbon capture and storage and renewable energy. The EEA agreement enables the EEA EFTA states to share expertise and knowledge with the EU, which contributes to a well-functioning and resilient internal market. We are each other's closest partners. 30 years on, the EEA agreement remains the basis for our shared prosperity. As we prepare for the future, we will continue our solid cooperation to adapt, develop, and protect our internal market for generations to come. I hope you have a successful seminar, and I take this opportunity to share with you that on the 21st of March, Iceland will host a seminar, another seminar here in the EFTA House on plastic pollution in the oceans, which will focus on key challenges and effective strategies for plastic waste management in the oceans. And I'm delighted that Prime Minister of Iceland, Ms. Katrín Jakobsdóttir, and the Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium and Minister of Mobility, Mr. Georges Silkiné, will both participate in this event. And you will find more information about it and registration on the EFTA website. Thank you for your attention.